legends, welcome back to Before the Birds. It's 4:31 a.m. here in Newcastle. The roosters are still asleep and the coffee is strong, and we are live from KubeNest. So last week's episode 1, we mapped out the full 52-week journey, which was the foundations, implementation, reporting and assurance, and then the optimization. So all of those bricks basically building the one outcome, which is a sustainability single source of truth you can actually defend. Today, we'll start the real work with one question. Why is my data a mess? And what does single source of truth actually mean in practice? If every time someone asks, hey, Barry, can you send me the last quarter's total tons of CO2 equivalent, and it turns into a scavenger hunt or an S-bite, then this episode is for you. All right, let's start with why the data is a mess, okay? So let's normalize what I mean by this first. If your data is messy, you're not quite uniquely broken. You're most probably normal. Most sustainability data is a mess for 5 really boring, really common reasons. 1, it lives everywhere. 2, there's no shared naming. 3, there's no clear owner. 4, spreadsheets become the system. And 5, reporting got built before the data model. All right, let's break out each step. It lives everywhere. So there's potential for the data to be in ERPs, bits in finance in their system. It could be an ERP or their own software system. Bits in other portals people may have, bits in emails, and a big chunk of buried deep in SharePoint folder somewhere. No one ever actually sat down and designed it end to end. Number 2 was no shared naming. This is my favorite. So finance will call a site one thing. WHS might call it another. Operations have shortened it again. It's the same place with 3 different labels. And that's how you end up with 3 different buckets of 3 truths for one organization. All right, number 3 was no clear owner. Okay, so when the ownership is vague, as in it's everybody's responsibility, no one feels accountable for recording the data. So people only capture what directly affects their day-to-day role. If they do not understand how the energy bill or the waste log contributes to the organisation's sustainability greater goals, their risk profile, stakeholder expectations, it simply doesn't get recorded consistently or at all. And that leaves gaps in the data to make accurate reporting and decision making impossible. Okay, number 4 is spreadsheets became the system. So spreadsheets are brilliant tools. Let's not mix that up, but they're a terrible system of record. The moment you see file names like final underscore version 7 underscore revised underscore really final, trust is already starting to drift. Okay, and finally, for number 5, we have the report was built before the data model. So someone wanted to report board, investors, regulatory need. So you hack something together. That one-off became the template, and then every year you're rebuilding on shaky foundations. The outcome is predictable. You waste hours reconciling tiny differences. Different teams walk into the same meeting with different numbers, and over time, people stop trusting the data at all. So what's next? Today, we're going to start reversing by agreeing what good actually looks like. Okay, so the second part of this episode was what single source of truth actually means. So single source of truth sounds like a marketing fluff, so let's strip it back, shall we? For our purposes, a single source of truth is one governed place and structure for a given type of data that everyone agrees is where it should be stored, updated, and pulled from. And with that, there's just needs a few key clarifications. It does not mean one magical file for everything. It does, however, mean one agreed place in your folder or system hierarchy, one agreed pattern per material topic, one clear owner who updates it, and one standard output everyone else reuses for reporting. And today we're going to anchor this on a topic the world revolves around anyway, which is emissions. Okay, now let's work out how we structure the emissions. Okay, on the screen now, we've got it's very simple hierarchy setup with the material topic sitting at top, below your sustainability data, and then below them we've got scope 1, 2, and 3. And then under scope 2, you've obviously got the purchased electricity. So you can get other purchased steam and purchased heating as well through there, but we're just going to focus on electricity. Under scope 1, another stream, you can have transport fuels, stationary fuels, and fugitive emissions. And then with scope 3, you can also break it out into the 15 categories. Category 1, purchase goods and services. Category 6, business travel. Or category 7, employee commuting. So the mental mode for today that we're going to understand is just following this pattern here. Just follow the green. Emissions, scope 2, purchased electricity. Okay, so what we'll build from this is a single source of truth pattern that then you can reuse for the rest of your data. You just follow this pattern I'm going to show you, and it's rinse and repeat. On the screen now, you'll see the folder structure that I recommend. So let me walk you through it slowly. So we're in sustainability data under emissions under scope 2, just so you know the start of it. Okay, underneath scope 2, I would have the specific reporting year. So let's just say financial year 2023. Inside the reporting period, I would have 3 things only. It'll be the raw bill, the register, and then the exports. Underneath raw bill, I would have one folder per site with the actual PDFs inside them. Okay. Underneath register, you just have the one register which holds all of the raw data. And then in exports, you would have all of the exported data that you need to then transfer into to use your emission factors and do your sustainability reporting from. So here is just one version of a single source of truth. So one agreed place under emissions, scope 2, financial year. One owner, finance, who saves the bills here, and then they update the register from the data from the bills. And then one standard export that the sustainability team uses instead of re-entering data. Now what I'll show you is what the standard operating procedure looks like in real life. So you can see, okay, that's a great structure, but who does what where and how does it actually flow? Okay, on the screen now, we've got the 3 swim lanes. So the retailer lane, the finance lane, and the sustainability lane. So in the retailer lane, they send the PDF, electricity bill, whatever, monthly, quarterly to finance. Please pay me. The finance team grab that bill. Their next step is to save it in the correct file. And then the step after that would be to update the register with the site dates, kilowatt hours, costs, potentially just going to be kilowatt hours and costs because everything else is set up there. So a new habit for finance would be touch the bill once, put the PDF straight into the folder, add or confirm a few extra fields in the register, like the site code, billing period. It's potentially just going to be billing period, kilowatt hours, cost if they need cost or whatever they need. So that's their new procedure. Then it goes over to the sustainability lane, and they read the register that's been updated by Sally, and the date and everything's in there, and then they can use the calculations from the register to build their reports. So when we think about what wouldn't happen if these procedures were followed, there'd be no more. Can you send me the latest bills? There'd be no more. Which spreadsheet is the latest? And there'd be no more like, why does finance show a different number to sustainability? So the principle here is simple. It's not groundbreaking stuff. This, it's very, very easy. One owner, one place, and one output for one emission stream, scope 2 electricity. Now, once you've proven that one pattern works for electricity, you just copy and paste exactly what you have for the scope 1 diesel, gas, refrigerants, or your scope 3 waste travel flights, whatever you want to set up. It's the same idea with the same pattern. I also understand that this is very, very basic, and you could have embedded networks, you could have tenants, you could have all sorts of stuff inside of here. But this is just trying to understand that you need to get a structure right, and you need to have the procedure for the person, so that then when we get the data, it's all sorted out. All right. All right. Now let's turn that into something you can actually do between now and next Monday. We're going to take, something small and give it some purpose. So we'll pick one emission stream, electricity under scope 2. It's the easiest place to start. Don't try and fix everything this week. So map out how it works today in 60 seconds. Get a notepad. Who gets the electricity bill first? Where do they save it? Who asks for it later? Get those answers. Once you get those answers, most organisations will say finance gets the bill by email, keys in the costs, and saves the PDF somewhere in a finance folder. Sustainability emails them later asking for copies and re-enters the kilowatt hours into a separate sheet. That's your today picture. Step 3, agree with the person in charge of the new folder structure. Sit down with the finance team and just say, can we agree that for scope 2 electricity, all financial year 23 bills go in this location? Shared sustainability, that folder structure we showed earlier. Then you need to show them and help them understand what you need from the bill into the register. Okay, so in that register, they need all the things they need to pay bills or to track things. But inside the register for sustainability, it might be the entity, the site code, billing start period, billing end period, quantity, unit, kilowatt hours, etc., the data source, and the date updated. Okay, if those are filled out, it just makes the process so much easier. And if you add kilowatt hours and site code when they process your bill, the sustainability team will stop bothering them every quarter and ask for this information every time, and they'll stop keying in the same information. So the business organization actually becomes more efficient. Step 4, for the next month or quarter, don't rush everything. Just practice the trial period. So finance saves the bill in the raw bill folder. Finance updates the register per bill, and then sustainability only reads from that register and exports for reporting. At the end of that period, ask 2 questions. So just run it and then ask 2 questions. Did anyone have to chase anyone for a bill? Did we have any which number is correct arguments for electricity? If the answers are no and no, congratulations. You've just created your first real single source of truth for emissions data without buying anything. Okay, then all we do is rinse and repeat for every other stream. That's it, nothing else. All right, we're just going to have a little sneak peek inside KubeNest to show you how, like, the exact logic that we spoke about is actually baked in. So inside emissions, we have scope 1, 2, and 3. in here. So the streams like electricity, it's sitting in your scope 2 stream. And then the structure that we had where it was raw, register, and exports. This is all wired already inside here. So, your dashboard, your metrics, your site, your entities, it's all in there. So there's no manual adding in every single time to maintain any registers. The only thing you would have to do is obviously add in that kilowatt hours and the date range, and then it's all connected. So the big difference we have with KubeNest and then the Excel files is you connect your source, you apply your structure once, and then the system keeps it consistent for you. Also, we have the API connections. So if finance still wanted to control the input in their software or in the ERP, we have an integration that goes into the software. So you literally don't have to do anything. It's just whenever they input it on their side, the data is sent straight through to KubeNest and will be added the into the data section of KubeNest, and then you can also just go straight to scope 2 and filter on your last month and get your information that you need. So all your reports will be straight from here anyway. So that's just the little things that KubeNest do. But for now, we just want to focus on getting your structures and getting your process right before we move into any softwares. So if you would like any help designing or pressure testing this pattern for your own organization, then that's exactly what we do in our sustainability data readiness workshop. In that session, we'll map out where your emissions data actually lives today. We'll design your one owner, one place, one output patterns for one to two key streams. And then we'll build a simple 90-day plan to move from the scattered bills and spreadsheets into something that you can defend. I'll put a link in the episode if you want to book a time. But if not, we'll see you next week. Next Monday, we're going to zoom out one level and map out the full sustainability data universe. So what we want there is all the systems, the suppliers, the people that touch your numbers, all on a single page. Very much for tuning into Before the Birds. The coffee is done, and I'll see you next Monday. See you later.